welcome to the Home Based Podcast. My name is Damien and I'm drinking some tea, and to my left is my wife Jenna.
Hello.
She's saying hello. I'm gonna take a sip of the very hot tea.
Don't slurp. Oh, slurping.
Well, but then people can experience it at home. We're trying something a little different with the mic setup. We're gonna see if this is better. We're not holding the mics, they're a little further away. Maybe that will clear up. Maybe we're just too close to the mics. It's probably sensitive enough.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
It's all an experiment.
It's all
I think that's the theme right now.
Yeah, it's an experimental rocket ship. I know, I really hope that catches on so I can have a t-shirt made that says experimental rocket ship.
I mean, you could just make a t-shirt if you want to.
Maybe that's it. And they're like, what's the experimental rocket ship? Oh, my life. Like, where are you going? Like, I don't know. I have no clue. There is no track. I'm laying it as we go. Only God knows.
That's right. You know, sometimes you just gotta try something new.
Yeah.
Outside of the box.
I forgot to say, coming at you from our bedroom.
Oh, we're saying that every time.
Well, I think so. It's part of the theme.
Okay.
It's part of the thing. You know, we're doing everything at home. We do so much at home, even record podcasts at home in our makeshift studio, which is not a studio at all. It's a bedroom, and the soundproofing in here is nothing. So, you know how you're supposed to have fabric everywhere. The chairs have fabric in it, but it's very much reflective surfaces everywhere. We have recorded a podcast before, and we were told to go in the closet because that makes sense, but with us filming it, it felt weird to do it in the closet, but maybe that's actually where we should have filmed it, because you'd see our clothes and our shoes everywhere.
I told you that might get more traction because people think it's weird.
Well, we can move. We can always move to the closet. Anyway. How did we start the last one? What were we talking about?
The one that we had to delete because it got messed up.
Yeah, we had to, just like...
This has happened to us twice now. We've started 2 podcasts by saying this is the second version.
Yeah, when you don't know what you're doing, I had a malfunctioning wire, and it basically ruined the whole thing. So I have a new wire, I have some new headphones, and we were trying to fit it in right before church. And so we spent the time to do that. Thought we got it all planned out, and then we had to do it later anyway. So
instead of scrap it, yeah.
We started 6 hours ago, and now we're doing it again.
Well, so we were going to talk about like how we got started in business, but we started talking about how we love hot drinks. You keep slurping.
They can't hear that. Can they hear that?
I'm sure.
Not like...
Wait till it cools down.
But I want to know.
So...
Oh, that's what we're talking about, coffee.
We talked about coffee.
Yeah, because I'm sure everybody who's listening to this wants to hear about our coffee adventures. But...
Actually, we talked about how we hated technology and how we are so bad with technology. Like, we're really bad. And we don't like technology, so we don't use it in our coffee.
Well, yeah, and there's something about... Especially, no matter who you are right now, you have to use technology, and there's just beauty in the simplicity of things that don't use any technology, and coffee was one of them. I was complaining about how things have to pair and always have to talk, and it's just nice to have like a light switch on and off. Like, that's all you need. Like, that's like brilliant.
Right, so for a long time we've been making coffee that doesn't require electricity, and it's great actually because we were using a French press, and you can travel with it too. Like, I still would travel with a French press.
Meaning we weren't using a coffee maker. We have our stove is electric.
Our stove is
Induction. Yeah, so it uses electricity. That's yeah.
Yes, yeah.
We were using a French press, and then you decided to experiment, as you do with our coffee all the time.
Yeah, so there's a lesson in here. The lesson is to like take slowness in your morning. You know, doing coffee without a machine, it like requires you to pour the water and like be slow.
So in Back to the Future, where they like press the button and the pizza just comes out of the machine, like there's something about laboring. Like you made the pizza, you made the coffee. You're more connected to what you're doing.
It's a
I say that facetiously,
ceremony.
but I actually believe it. Like the closer we are to like our food and the certain things we do, not that I want to be. You don't want to have your own farm and have to do everything. That's just not.
Some people do.
Some people do, but to do some more things, it just gives you a great appreciation for what you have, like what it takes to get that avocado, or those eggs, or whatever it is.
Right. So that's the beauty of the coffee that we choose.
We had a French press, and now we're on. It's basically a manual drip.
Right.
It looks like an hourglass. It is glass, and it looks like an hourglass. And in the top half, you put the filter with the grounds, and then you pour over the hot water.
Right.
And then you have to wait for it to filter through. Takes a while. And then that's not enough for the two of us. So then you have to do it maybe one and a half more times.
Like 2.5 more times.
So it's more of a process.
Yeah. So people would probably die when they know how long it actually takes to make 2 cups of coffee.
It's like 15 minutes.
Maybe 20.
Maybe.
But I do I'll clean up the kitchen, or I'll get the kids' vitamins ready, or I'll do something. Usually I do something while it's percolating to try to make use of that time a little bit. Damien doesn't. Damien just sits.
I start it, I pour, I sit, I I see who won, I check the sports scores. Or is there any new golf equipment that's come out? Because it's new golf equipment season. Very exciting stuff. The Mizuno hasn't had their new wedges hit the rack yet. Those are coming in a couple of weeks. I'm definitely excited about that. Hopefully somebody listening to this podcast is excited about the new S23 Mizuno wedges.
I don't sit down. I don't think I ever sit down really. I just stand and do the coffee. If I sit, then I won't get back up.
But I just ordered a tailor-made wedge. It's a high toe. It used to be called Bigfoot or something like that. Now it's high toe.
You ordered a wedge with your golf money, or is this a separate? This is a separate thing.
Oh no, yeah.
You used your stash.
My stash, yeah. Oh. And I'm really what it pays. The manager of the local golf store, Roger Dunn. He used to be the club repair guy. The child's going to appear momentarily.
Might burst through the door. I'm not sure.
I hear footsteps.
We might have to pause.
Maybe not. Anyway, club repair guy, quiet kid, and I made friends with him. I would tip him here and there, and now he became the manager. So if things need to happen, when I ask for the manager, I just ask for him, and then I just give him my first name and tell him, I forgot to say this one thing on my order, which I did. No problem. I'll take care of it. It's real easy. Mm-hmm. It pays to have relationships where the places you want to do business.
That is true.
It pays. Yeah. Or
that is true.
I make friends with the guy at the locker room attendant at the country club, and my shoes are always clean. And I always give them $5 too. So there's part of that. It's 2-way street.
Yeah, but if you give people, if you show that you value their services, then they will take care of you in return.
Yeah, my hope with things is always if you show you appreciate it, then if you need something, they don't begrudgingly do it. They happily do it.
Yeah, it's the law of reciprocity, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about coffee. I don't really know how you went off on that tangent, but we have been using a French press for 1.5 years or 2 years. And then I listened to a podcast a while back, actually, but decided to implement it now from Drew Pruitt about how since French press retains the oils in the coffee, that potentially for some people who have higher cholesterol or are more prone to it, maybe that's not as good for them, although cholesterol that's a whole nother subject. Like, you can have higher cholesterol and it's heart protective and it protects against Alzheimer's, but that's, I digress. Anyway, so I asked for the Chemex.
Yeah, CHEMEX?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Chemex. Anyway, and so now that's what we do. So it takes longer because French press only took about 5 minutes for 2 cups. So, but it does taste different. It's smoother.
It's smoother. French press retains all of the flavor of the coffee.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like sort of just everything. Mm-hmm. And then this, because it has a paper filter, it filters out, obviously some of it.
Right.
So you're getting it's just a little more refined, I guess. Right. Yeah. French press, you get all the flavor, which I still like. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of cool. The filter is just a big circle. It's like a big, and it's just folded. So even that, it's not there's not even glue. It's just a big circle, and it's just folded, and it uses the fold to make the cone.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get a typewriter, and I'm gonna write letters. That's what I'm gonna do. So when we get fans, if and when we get fans, if you write me a typed letter, I'll write it back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Can be like your little hobby. Too bad we can't get your grandfather's typewriter. That's another story.
Oh, I don't.
Here's the short version.
Well, I don't know.
Damien's grandfather is a post-mortem famous author. Wrote about the Depression era.
Well, I don't know what you're gonna say because now you're gonna give away family secrets. Are you giving away family secrets?
Oh, okay, no. Well, no, I'm just saying that it's gone. The typewriter's gone, and we don't have access to it.
Okay.
So
yes, the typewriter was donated to UCLA.
Now I'm remembering.
Yeah, we won't talk about the other thing, but
yeah,
the typewriter, it was donated to UCLA along with a lot of his when my grandmother passed away, a lot of things were moved into storage, and then maybe about 10 years ago. No, Micah was. Oh, actually. Everything was put in storage, and then I helped to go through it, and.
I think Micah was a baby.
Yeah, about 12 years ago.
Gosh.
Like the good stuff, like letters he had written, because my grandma kept everything, because she had this thing where she believed one day it was all going to be worthwhile, like he was going to be more claimed, which ended up happening after he passed away, which she actually got some of the attention after he had died. They would talk to her. That was donated to UCLA. Yeah. So it's there somewhere. I've never gotten to see it. But they're making
Didn't we go?
To UCLA?
Yeah.
We did?
Yeah, we did. I remember Micah was like 7 months old and I was feeding him oatmeal outside.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't know. It's all sort of a blur.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're doing another, they call it esoteric tour. This guy in downtown, he does tours about downtown LA. He does ghost tours or murder tours. He does all kinds of stuff. And one of the things he does is a John Fonte tour. So if you go, you can go. His tour's coming up, but it's going to be too long for our family. So the kids can't do it. They're not going to be interested. But you just walk around with him, and he gets my aunt and my dad to go so they can talk about all the things. And then my grandfather also has a intersection near the downtown LA library.
Yes.
Named after him. They made a few movies from his books. A few years ago, they made a movie. It's in French called My Dog Stupid. And then there's another one's gonna shoot next year.
I don't know because I don't.
For the fall.
Are you allowed to say those things?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody's listening. Nobody knows.
So.
I hope I get in trouble. Yeah. Well, I didn't say which one.
Right.
And I can't remember which one. So that there isn't much left to do though. Like a lot of it's been done.
To the end.
Yeah, a lot of it's been done. Yeah. But actually, there's a line in the French movie. I won't give my opinion of the French movie. But it's about a man who's older and he's kind of had his life. He's probably in his 60s, I think. It's about the age that they put him in the book, maybe late 50s, kind of like that. And one of the it's kind of a chaotic household, at least in the movie it is. And I don't remember. I don't think this line is this way in the book, but I can't remember. One of the kids is moving out, and he just wants to. He says something like, "Dad, I just want you to know, like, I really loved growing up here." And I was like, "Oh," because the family's kind of being fractured, but it's like, and it wasn't a good situation because like his girlfriend's pregnant, and that's why he's leaving to be with her, and I think she's a stripper or something like that. But just the fact is like, oh, well, I hope, our kids, when they look back, whatever life we're creating, that they look back and go, I loved like growing up there. Not necessarily, it's not about like the house, it's about what you create. Because we, in all these places that we've gone, as far as homes, it's not the place, that's part of it, but it's what you create and the people who come in there.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do with our life, right? We're trying to give our kids a great place to grow up.
Right. Yeah. Well, we wanted to. Well, when we started dōTERRA, before we started dōTERRA, we just wanted to create a life where we had a lot of time together.
Yeah.
And where this idea of family, where it was.
So wait, like, can I just say one thing? I'm going to say it anyway, so I'm not asking your permission. I'm going to say one thing.
Go ahead.
The reason we started, and that's what we're going to get into, is we consciously wanted to have, design our lives as much as possible. We wanted to have a certain life, and we set about to make that happen. We didn't know how it was going to happen, but we just had these certain criteria that we wanted to make sure that we hit, and then we set about figuring out how to make our lives do that. And we've been pretty successful at it. That's how it all started. Like, we want our life to be this way, and then we started trying to figure out how.
Well, and yeah, I mean, we didn't, if we go back farther, I guess, we always would just kind of dream. Like, we didn't even know exactly how we wanted life to look, but we would just kind of dream about it. What if we could have a house one day, or what would it look like? And we kind of just explored. I feel like we just explored ideas together until we figured out, oh yeah, this is kind of what we want. We didn't even really know, I would say, as young people. We explored it together though.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
so
you're never really.
That's important.
Yeah, you're never really thinking about it, like. And even if you did, like, I want my life to be like this, you know who you are at 16 versus 24 is totally different. So and then the more real life experience you have, the more you realize what's possible, or what you like, what you don't like, because there's a lot of things that maybe we're exposed to that you say, that's kind of a turn off. I don't want my life to. A lot of life is realizing what you don't want in some ways.
Yeah.
All right. An easy one is I'll earn less money because if it means more time from my family. Like, I'm not willing to sacrifice family time for my career, maybe in seasons, but not indefinitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you could have both.
Well, you can have both. Yeah. Or like this guy, the way he goes about his life, or girl, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And you can fill in the blank with whatever it is. So I'm just going to go try to do like the opposite, or not fall into the, I remember in the back of your head, there's this guy. Oh, if I feel like I'm turning into his life, that's a bad thing. I got to course correct.
Well, what I didn't want, I should say, I don't really know about you, but what I didn't want was, I didn't want a life where it was just like trains passing.
Ships
passing. Yeah, we both go to work. We don't really see each other. You only have time, after dinner. I go to bed early, so and then
no, I go to bed early. There's a new commitment I made. We going through some things over the last few months, and I made a commitment that instead of staying up and just watching TV aimlessly, by myself on the couch, I would just do that in bed with Jenna. And also as for me too, because well, I know she likes me to go to bed with her. It helps her to fall asleep better. But also, I end up like falling asleep on the couch, and it's not good for me either. So there were basically positives with that decision.
Right, and you're sleeping a lot better.
Yeah, with the exception of last night.
So you have an occasional bad night of sleep versus before it was like you weren't sleeping at all.
There is something that wakes me up in the middle of the night more frequently.
We're not going to talk about that. We'll talk about Bruno.
You want to talk about Bruno? That's Bruno? That's a Bruno? Is that our code word?
So anyway, I didn't want that. I wanted a life where we were with each other more because I love you.
I love you too.
I did then and I still do now. And so that's what I wanted. I just wanted a life where we were together more and could have this family that we, like if a family was together and doing it all together. And so I think that's just that's where I was coming from, and bumbled along until we found dōTERRA.
Yeah, and how we got into it was at the time when Micah was born and Jenna went back to work. She was a pharmaceutical rep and I was a real estate appraiser working with my father. And funny thing is, I appraised the house like 3 houses up from here. And I was like, oh, that's a cool house. And then we saw this house. I was like, I've been to that house right there. They're a really great view. We don't have the same view. We have a larger yard. But we can still take a hike and still see the same view. Needless to say, since Jenna made 3 times as much money as I did, the only option for somebody staying home was me, because we couldn't survive off of my income, and we barely survived up to hers, kind of, sort of, not really. And for
you probably didn't know.
Yeah, for a year, I didn't know, I don't think. For a year, Jenna would stop people and say, what do you do? To just try to like get ideas of other things that she could possibly do. She didn't want to do pharmaceuticals anymore because she was a little disillusioned by the industry, and there was one manager in particular who was very unsavory too. But you thought more of like you were helping people, connect, kind of like what we do with the dōTERRA.
Yeah.
We help people with these great products, and you thought you were doing that, but then you saw, well, it's like they were wanting to, whatever problem it was at that last meeting you were at, they were like, oh, thank goodness everybody's, out of shape. We can take advantage of that.
Right.
Whatever.
It was obesity. They wanted to bring an obesity drug to market, save all the fat people. Well, a pill can't fix everything, and it's not getting to the root of the problem, and it's all about money. And I wasn't being challenged or being, valued for what I had to bring to the table. And, they hire a certain kind of statistic type person, not statistic as in math, but like, what am I trying to say?
They hire young, pretty girls.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's all.
But they do have men. They do have men.
Yeah, attractive men.
And they have attractive men who can speak well.
Right.
And are very, they're very charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, not all of them.
Not all of them, but most of them.
I can think of some. But anyway.
Bob was very nice.
Bob was very nice.
Yeah, talks.
I just was tired of that. I just wanted to do something more with my life, and I wasn't helping people. I actually wasn't. And so, yeah, I was trying to get out of that, but I like to work. I'm not really cut out to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I was trying to find something, and Damien was trying to find something, and we thought, maybe he should work, and I should stay at home.
I had played baseball up until college, and then all of a sudden you're done, and you're like, what do you do with the rest of your life? And that was my focus for basically high school through. So 8 years, which, when you're 22, 14 to 22 is, almost all the life you can remember. And I was like, what do you want to do? I don't know. I haven't been exposed to anything else. And appraising just didn't fit my skill set. I could do it, but it didn't fit my skill set. It was always very kind of frustrating for me. It wasn't quite Just wasn't my cup of tea.
No.
So we
You went on 11 interviews.
I went on 11 interviews. Jenna remembers. A lot of them were terrible. Nobody wanted to hire me. I couldn't even get an interview. One time I couldn't get an interview with a temp agency because they're like, you don't have office experience. I'm like, I'm a college graduate. They're like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. The lady wasn't very nice. I remember I went to this one company, Autoclore. They didn't realize that they forgot that they set up an interview, and I went on a ride along that day for whatever reason. They leased commercial dishwashers and serviced them. So I learned about, they have these squeeze tubes. These tubes that they basically, like, there's a mechanical thing that squeezes, soap into the machine. And that didn't work out. All kinds of stuff. And then dōTERRA came along. Yeah,
so my boss, at the time he was not my boss, his wife had been introduced to dōTERRA, and so she knew we had been talking, and she knew that I really wanted to quit my job. And so she invited me to come learn about the oils, and so I remember because I took my mom with me. My mom is, one of the strongest spiritual women that I know, and I felt like this could be something. And I wanted her to be there to evaluate so that I wasn't just like in my head all like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting and I think this is going to be our answer. And so I took her with me, and she was very supportive, and I just felt like this was the path that God had put in front of us after, 10 months of searching for something, that this could really be the thing that took us to where we wanted to go. And so I bought some oils. I came home, told Damien I bought these oils. We used them for Micah.
It was kind of like
we didn't have any money to spend, and I bought them anyway.
Yeah, it was basically, we have these oils that are going to change our life. It was a little bit like Jack and the Beanstalk. Like, he goes home and he's got the magic beans. He trades them for the cow, right? And his mom is like, what did you do? I wasn't like that. It was more like, oh, okay, I'm not really sure how.
But Damien's always supportive, no matter what I say. When I say, hey, we're done drinking coffee, he's like, okay, just goes along with it.
No, that's not how the story went. The story was I was on the toilet and I get a knock on the door, and it's our daughter saying, Mommy says you guys aren't drinking coffee anymore. And then I come out and she's like, yeah, I decided we're done with coffee. So then we just drank black tea for like 2 years.
Yeah. Anyway, so
and we got started with dōTERRA with maybe, dōTERRA is a network marketing company. And there's a lot of good network marketing companies out there. And there's probably many more terrible ones, right?
There's a lot of companies.
It's a very sort of polarizing industry in the general public. And I remember one of the things that I was saying for the episode that we had to re-record that, it's been erased now, was, when we started, we got met with, you get differing opinions, whether the product's good, network marketing is good, all these things when you're going into some new venture, or you have this idea, whatever it is, or maybe it's, like we did, our last 2 kids were birthed at home versus the hospital. You could have a question like that.
Right, yes.
And maybe people are supportive, maybe they're not. But what I was saying was, one, usually when people give you advice, most people, the really wise ones, don't, because they'll ask you questions. Why do you want to do? The wise ones will ask you questions. Most people, what they do is that's not what they say is, don't do that. What they mean is, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
I don't feel comfortable taking that risk or taking that challenge. So when you're trying something new, have that in mind. Or when you're seeking advice. Or the other thing is the person who's giving you advice, whether it's solicited or not, somebody who you would take advice from in this specific category.
Right.
The example would be if you were going to invest money and you talk to your uncle who's broke, always living with your grandparents. And he tells you, it's a terrible idea. Well, he's not good with money. Like, he's not somebody you should be listening to anyway. So you have to really be discerning as to whose advice you get and whose wisdom you're gathering.
Yes, I agree. I don't know what I was going to say now.
Well, because I said it all. That's what usually happens in our house.
Oh,
I leave Jenna speechless, I think, every day. Just these pearls of wisdom that I drop.
That's actually probably true, but not in the way that people might think.
That I leave you speechless?
Yeah.
I say the most off-putting things to her that I can think. Well, they're not that off-putting.
No,
they're just like
they're just like silly.
They're like the level of like a 13-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think they're just the most hilarious things. And then her look in her face.
So funny that they don't require a response.
She can't believe this is who she married.
Right.
They're never that bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're just silly.
Yeah. So I don't know what I was talking about, but we got started with dōTERRA, and it was the first thing that we were able to see a vision of what could get us to where we wanted to go and the kind of life that we wanted to live.
Right.
And we've been with dōTERRA for over 11 years now, and we've been very fortunate to work with amazing people and have amazing customers, and it affords us to be able to homeschool.
Right.
It afforded us to be able to home birth.
And it's the oil, the great products. The oils are amazing. And there's obviously all these kinds of supplements that are also great, but the oils get most of the attention with dōTERRA, and it's a great company.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So we decided, or I decided, really, is how the story actually goes, that we were going to build this dōTERRA business, and it was in December of 2011, and I didn't really know. I actually had a little bit of a part-time marketing job at home already. So I was working full-time as a pharmaceutical rep and then doing more hours on the computer every night. So Damien basically was always with Micah. And then I said, hey, we're gonna do dōTERRA too. And I remember having a conversation with you, and you said, like, I can't do this. This is not gonna work for me. And
that was the caretaker?
Yeah. And then, lo and behold, in January, a few weeks later, I got laid off. And so I was so excited when we heard about layoffs. I think it was like January 18th. And I was so excited. They sent the email out at midnight, because that's what you do when you want to tell people that layoffs are coming.
It's always so stupid.
And I called my mom and I said, I'm going to get laid off. And she said, why in the world are you so excited about this? And I said, because this is the only way. It's the only way that we can build dōTERRA, and I'll get a severance. And this is my confirmation that God is saying, this is the way you should go. And I was right. I was the only person in my whole little pod, my whole little area that got laid off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you got laid off because you were trying to stand up to somebody and they didn't like you, so that was an easy pick.
That was an easy pick.
She's
I had
challenging.
like a faux hawk at the time, and like I was really just kind of, I don't really care what you tell me.
Yeah.
Especially if you're wrong and I'm in the right, like I'm gonna stand up for.
Yeah, well, and I'm not any different. Maybe in our own regard, we're not very tactful some of the time, so we're working on that.
I was young. I was not very tactful.
But also, when you have this, you don't realize you have the spirit of an entrepreneur.
I'm still young though.
Well, you definitely don't have as much sun damage as I do, but needless to say, somebody at church didn't recognize me because I had grown my hair back. And I said, well, I'm still losing my hair. And he's like, yeah, but look at me, He's like, basically, he was like, I wish I could, be in your shoes. And then his daughter's like, I don't know, she like 18, 19. Malad, his daughter, Mariah, who sings in the in the band.
Yeah.
I said, hold on to your youth, treasure it. She's like, what are you talking about? I mean, I was just kind of being funny, but half serious.
Because you never know when you're going to lose it. That's the thing. It just kind of happens one day.
Yeah, it does. It does. I definitely don't. I think I put out a pretty casual vibe, like, so I still get a lot of mans, you know, hey, thanks, man, have a good day, man, you know, boss, that kind of stuff. And sometimes I'm offended. I'm like, I'm not your buddy. Like, who are you? You know, sir. And then other times I do go in, they're like, well, I'm not offended. I'm just like, oh, well, you took some liberties there. I guess that's okay. You know, it's California, right? And then sometimes it's very formal, yes, sir. And I'm like, gosh, I'm not that much older than you.
You're like,
turning my
father?
What
do you want then? What do you want to be called?
I don't know. I don't know what I want to be called.
You don't know.
I don't. Yeah, it's a little.
You're in your midlife crisis.
You just don't know. Like, well, I had a thing when I was a kid. Like, I never liked to be called buddy.
Yes.
Because people, you know, if to every child, like, hey, hey, buddy, I'm like, I've never met you. I'm not your buddy.
Right.
Like, it's this, like, you call me something else, but I'm not your friend. I don't know you.
Right.
You know, and you want to be like, hey, like, yeah, you're a stranger. Mm-hmm. You don't have anything to add to that?
No, I don't.
No pearls of wisdom?
No. Mm-mm.
So what should people learn from our little origin story?
That's what I'm wondering.
I think one of the things that I want people to take away, so I'm going to answer my question with my answer.
Okay.
Is you just got to get started.
Oh yeah, that's a great tip.
It's better to, and it's never going to be perfect, and the perfect time is never going to happen. There can be, you know, obviously, there can be some parameters, like, you know, if you just had something, if you're going through like a really hard time, maybe it's not the time to take this thing on. But if you're in any venture you're having or in anything new you're going to try, there is never a perfect time, and done is better than perfect.
Right.
And as we've been trying with this podcast and all this other stuff that we're trying, because over the last 2 months or a month and a half, we've started a podcast, Instagram to go with the podcast, and 2 YouTube channels. And they're kind of like skeleton crew, but or like as far as the content, but it's just us doing it all. And obviously the quality isn't kind of what we want. The stuff on Firefly is okay enough, but you got to start somewhere.
Right.
And what people look to do is the example I'll refer back to. I'm remembering what I said the last time, and hopefully this speaks to somebody. I think it should. Is people always go, because this has happened in our dōTERRA business. Oh, okay. Next, you know, on Thursday I'm gonna have this chunk of 4 hours, so I could just do it.
Right.
Typically, you don't have the energy to sit down for 4 hours and just hammer something out. It's like you know, and that's not how life works. There's just not. There's always interruptions. And so it's better to do a little bit every day and get in, and 1, it builds the habit.
Right.
And 2, over the course of a week, a month, a year, you'll actually have done something if you just chip away. Although it seems meaningless today, over the course of a period of time, like, it adds up. Mm-hmm. Which is the slight edge. Which is, I think it's Greg Olson. I think that's
it's something Olson. And so, yeah, it's just this idea that positive or negative, your actions build upon each other. You do a little bit every single day, and then all of a sudden you end up somewhere. So if you're doing positive things, you know, if you're working out a little bit every day, then you're probably going to lose some weight at the end of 6 months. And if you don't work out a little bit every day, then you're going to go down to the worst place.
And his thing is that if you, the slight edge is doing the little things and how they add up over time. But because they're little things, they're easy to do. They're also easy not to do, because you're like, well, I could just do 2 of them tomorrow.
Right.
But then you build this habit of putting them off, and then you don't do it. And the people who win are the people who, they just check one thing off, like every day kind of thing.
Right.
and we had the one of the contractors we had, the last one who put in a lot of these windows and doors in our house. Older gentleman who worked with another older gentleman. They're both in their 60s, I think, I would say. And they would come, and he lives like an hour and a half away, this one guy.
Yes, yeah.
Martin, the head contractor, framing contractor. So that's 3 hours worth of driving every day. That's already built into his schedule. And his wife was sick at the time in the hospital. And he would come, and you would think he was kind of doing nothing, and he was pretty casual. And he would stop. What he did was, after watching him for 3 months or whatever it was, he had an idea of what he could accomplish in the day, including cleanup, and he would do just that.
Right.
And sometimes it was a little more and sometimes it was a little less. But it was like, here's what I can do, I think, not only time-wise, but effort-wise. But I'm always going to show up and get these next 1 or 2 steps done. And when you're watching it, you're like, what did he do today? Like, I mean, or it's only 1 o'clock, he could have kept working, but, maybe I didn't realize, okay, well, if I start the next step, it's 6 hours. We don't have time for that.
Right.
But also, lo and behold, a week later, you're like, holy cow, like there's a lot that's happened. And then 2 weeks later, and all of a sudden our half our house has been rebuilt.
Right.
And it was a lesson that it just sort of that diligence, and it's not necessarily about also if you can do something every day that you have the constitution for, then then that means you can do it every single day, and you'll be like, oh, I can
have the stamina.
Yeah. It's not like you have to have this marathon one day where you have to do everything. Like sometimes psychologically, you can't even do that.
Right.
But if you're like, well, I just have to go do a little bit.
Right.
Then you can do that, and then given enough time, half the house is rebuilt.
Right. Well, and I think with any business, but especially network marketing businesses, it's about being persistent, consistent, doing it, even if it's just one thing every single day, giving it time, knowing that you're not going to make $1 million overnight. That's not true for most people in most industries. And,
that's another thing in terms of network marketing, but probably any business but especially network marketing, is because network marketing, the entry to enter business is extremely low. Everybody's known somebody who's done a network marketing company. There's just no one person, but most people don't treat it seriously. They don't treat it like a business. They treat it like a hobby. And this is something that's thrown around in network marketing is, if you treat it like a hobby, you'll get paid like a hobby, which means it'll cost you.
Right.
So if you want something to happen, you can't hope that it'll just happen. You have to make it happen, and you have to plug away at it. And it doesn't matter if you don't really know what you're doing, but if you plug away at it, for instance, a good way to start is to connect with people who do know something. You talked to some people when we started our dōTERRA business. Did you talk to Glenn for a little bit?
Oh, I did talk to him for a little bit. That's right. No, I talked to a few people, and I talked to Dana, and so that was one of the things that was impactful for me. Was her husband was an entrepreneur, and they were supportive of us, or of me, and in getting started and trying something new. Many people were not supportive. There's a lot of negative associations with network marketing that dōTERRA has really done a great job of putting to rest, but I think there probably still are.
But I would say the caveat is people, because network marketing is notorious for selling people on this dream.
Right.
And then they get these people and they don't hold them accountable to be like, you're not putting in the effort. They just think if I just basically buy the entry level package, I'm going to make a bunch of money. Something's going to happen, and it doesn't work like that. That's just to get you started. Okay, so if you do exactly what I say and are persistent and have some, fight in you, you will. It's proven.
Right.
But 99% of people don't do that. That's why they fail.
Yes. So he said, give it a year. You can't base your business off of 3 months because you're going to have a bad month. or even 6 months. Like, you have to look at this average over a longer period of time to really give a good evaluation of whether you should continue or not. And so I thought that was really good advice, and we took it to heart. And then after a year, we were making money. We were making, $6,000 or $8,000 a month, and so we still weren't out of debt. But I mean, that's a lot more money than in the beginning, and so we knew we could keep forging ahead, and we could keep believing in it, and keep building it. And so that's what we did.
And one of the things I think people who are entrepreneurs do is they're not afraid to ask for help. Mm-hmm. Now they're like, I'm not going to ask for help from just anybody, but I don't know much about video. So with these filmed podcasts, I would like an intro that's pretty catchy. So I connected with the guy at church who does all those things. And I asked him today, I was like, this is what I'm thinking. Could you help me? And we started, and he's gonna help us with it, hopefully, and it'll all work out. So who do I know that knows more than me in this area, and they could just help me?
Right.
Especially when you're starting out, and if you don't have a budget.
Right.
Like, who can you go to that will maybe give you a favor, mm-hmm. or has connections in this area, mm-hmm. that can, or you could do it for a small fee, or hey, buddy, they're actually your buddy, can you do this and I'll take you out for dinner or right. something,
Yeah.
Who can you?
Well, most people want to help you. They want to give advice. People want to be asked for their opinion. So
I think people like that spirit of you're just getting started. I don't know what I'm doing. So can you? Oh, actually, there's a Brad in our life mm-hmm. group. Well, I'm in 2 life groups with him. He has his own podcast, mm-hmm. and so I said, "Oh, can I come check out your stuff?"
Right.
He's got a very serious setup.
Yeah.
Ours
is embarrassing compared to his, but
yeah, and he showed me all his equipment, and it's just okay. Well, he's a guy who has a podcast.
Right.
I don't know how much of it is. Maybe I should buy the microphones, he said, and some of the other things, because we had these, so we kept rolling with them. I don't know if they're good enough or not, but it's he was willing to help, but it's you just start asking people, or who do you know who's into this kind of stuff, and eventually you'll get to
right.
somebody who can help you manufacture a high-end leather wallet. That's what you want to do. Daniel Zing. I don't know how he got there, but Daniel Zing doesn't know I'm talking about him.
Is he still doing that?
No.
Yeah.
Apparently he does well doing his consulting, which I'm not really sure what he does.
Anyway. Mm-hmm.
Is that your done face?
It's this cloudy day. My energy's a little low. What else should we tell people about how we got started? Just basically, we had a vision, and so we just kept going because we had that vision, and we worked together. There's so many different things that you
definitely need a support system. If you could get a mentor, doesn't necessarily have to be in your industry, but somebody who at least is in business and would kind of know the pains you're going through, so they can tell you to keep going. That would be really helpful. And you need somebody, hopefully your spouse, to help you, support you through it. That's why it's great to do business together. It can be overwhelming because your problems from work come home because especially if you're trying all right, we're in business together, we've just started this thing, we're short on money, business isn't going well, that translates into the home life. But you need that extra because you just need to know that somebody's got your back.
Yeah.
And it helps you to just keep going. And the people who, there's a great, a cartoon that we've seen a million times, and it's 2 guys and they're digging for gems, and it's 2 tunnels on top of one another. Mm. And one guy, like, he turns away just before he didn't realize he was just there.
Yeah.
So if you're onto something or you think you are, you don't want to turn away before you've actually like had success. I'm not saying struck it rich, because maybe that's not the success you're looking for.
Right.
But at least.
And it's gonna be hard. Like, it's gonna be hard before it gets better. That's always the case.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want something out of the world, like, it's just not gonna just hand it to you. Like, in some sense, everybody's kind of fighting for the same thing, not in a like actually fighting, but like, you have to give people a reason to want to pay attention to you or want your have business. You can't be like, hey, you want to buy this? Sure. Like, that's just not how it works. You have to build value in yourself and what you're doing. Somebody once told me it's you get paid on the value you bring to the world.
Right.
Not necessarily. Maybe you're Mother Teresa and you clearly bring more value than what you get paid. But in most things, well, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world, right?
I don't know. Sure.
I think.
I have no idea.
And you could argue what value he brings, but if you like him or not, but clearly he's trying to do a lot of things, and the world values that. And I've used the example of, like, lover or hater Kim Kardashian, people value her and what she has to bring in her whole, all her siblings, so they get paid on it.
Right.
If we didn't value whatever she's promoting, not the product, but her herself, she wouldn't be where she's at.
Right.
We don't have to get into a philosophical thing about whether that's good or bad, but it just is.
But I think it's a good thing to remember, because it keeps you in a state of humility, and it keeps you in a state of wanting to serve others, and just being aware that, like, you need to bring value. Am I bringing value to this person? And how am I doing that? And I just think that's we should be doing that in everything, whether we're getting paid for it or not, right? But it's just...
Yeah, it really comes from an attitude of, like, service.
Right.
And that carries over into so many things. Like, if you're there to really serve people and really help them, like, everything's easy. What do you want? I get really annoyed when I go in and people are trying to sell me something. No, don't tell me what you want me to buy.
Right.
You figure out what I need, and then you figure out what you have that fills that need, and I'll probably buy it every time.
Right.
It's so easy. I want to be like, time out. Here, let me tell you how this really works. Say, oh, what are you looking for? Okay, and you build a rapport, and you ask me questions, and I'm looking for that, and then all you do is say, because if I'm already in your store, I clearly have interest in something.
Right. Or you're curious about something.
Yeah, so just come help me out. Instead of like, oh, this is the new thing, you gotta get this. I'm already like, you're just a value. Don't talk to me. Totally turn me off. I won't buy anything from you ever.
Bad sales training.
Bad. Well, they probably just weren't trained.
Well, you would be surprised. There's all different kinds.
Well, that's true.
The way people.
That's true.
Train their people.
I've never found success. I think the people who are the best at sales, maybe they're always telling you what you want to hear in some regards, and I think you should have some sincerity in how you do it, but they're there to help you.
They form rapport, like, they get you to trust them. They're trustworthy people. They're authentic and warm and open, and there's a reason.
Right. But, like, there's people who, like, sell golf clubs. Let's go, like, they go,
oh wow,
what are you looking for? Like, oh yeah, I'd really like to hit the ball farther. Oh, really?
Well,
okay,
some people can just sell things.
Yeah, let me tell you, like you see this driver over here? I've sold it to like 15 guys, to a man, every single one of them, at least 10 yards off the tee. Like, they just go crazy. And then, really, they're just making stuff up.
Yeah.
Not where I go, because I'm not even sure half of them are, like, trying to sell you stuff. They're definitely not trying to sell me anything. There's nothing they can tell me. Except for the people who don't know me. No, I don't need your help.
You know too much about golf.
Too much about equipment. I'm too much of a geek.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that new driver that I tried, 308 carry.
I don't think we have anybody listening to us that cares about golf.
308 carry. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
That's 924 feet through the air.
Anyway, so...
Oh man, my head was just like that big. I just felt like, yeah. You gotta feel that way sometimes.
I don't want to talk about that. No one's gonna listen about golf.
I'm not talking about, I'm like, sometimes it's just good to feel like a little macho.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yes! It made me feel good. Like, I don't even care if the machine's lying to me to sell me a golf club, like it's juiced up. Yeah, I still liked it. It felt good. I told my dad. And he's like, oh, so you're gonna buy one? I don't know.
All right. What are your closing remarks?
That if somebody wants to make a change in their life, just do it. It's not going to be perfect, and just keep going.
Take the risk on starting something new.
Yeah, it's okay if you bet on yourself.
Yeah.
A little bit. It obviously it depends if there's more of like a, what you're risking. For us with this podcast, essentially we're just risking time.
Right.
And some thought space, which can equal, money not in our pocket, because this is something totally different. Mm-hmm. But can you live with yourself if you never tried it?
Right.
I don't want to get like too philosophical, but it's like, if you went and tried something and you totally failed, but you gave it your all, you would feel better about yourself than if you never tried it.
Right, yeah.
And so which pain would you rather live with?
Right.
But then there's always, if you try it, you just might succeed.
Right.
And then...
that usually scares people into not trying it as well.
Right.
So, it's both, but...
Right. Yeah. And, but everybody's got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And people can make money doing really stupid things.
Well, yeah.
And a lot of times they're kind of stupid people.
Yeah,
I know that sounds
There's not much there, yeah.
You're like, how does this person make boatloads of money? You're like, really? Mm-hmm. And so if they can, why not you?
Right, it's just consistency.
Yeah.
Really.
Sometimes I think it pays to be a little ignorant. I'll say it.
Yeah.
Because you're not sort of self-filtering. You're not going like, oh, if I say this, then, it might put people off. You're like so authentic.
Right.
Because I have who I am, who I'm sharing here, and then I have like this other guy that I ratcheted up to 11, who only you know. And so maybe I won't share that with the world, but maybe the guy who's, like a 10. But I'm like, oh, well, that guy's really crazy. So I'll do 8.5 or something like that. But the people who just go straight 10, as long as they're not totally scientifically crazy, it does help.
Yeah.
They just do their thing.
Well, and they probably just don't think so much about what people might say.
That's really
that's the other thing. It's just having that, tough skin or just resiliency on, I don't care. I'm just gonna do it and just see what happens, and that can be hard. That's a skill, and or I guess you could think of it's a skin you have to grow, and it could be challenging in different things. You could feel that apprehension in one area of your life, and then conquer it, but then you could feel it again in a different area of your life.
You're always going to feel that, and anytime you try something new, you're always going to feel inadequate. Mm-hmm. So don't let the feeling of inadequacy kind of take the wind out of your sails, because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
give yourself some time to learn it, you know. That's just the way, that's like what, and then surround yourself with people who, you know, can lift you up,
right, or
who can help you, and don't be afraid to ask for help, and be really upfront with, you know, what you're looking for, what you can, if you're like, what you can offer them. You know, let's not make these relationships weird. If everything's just out in front, you're like, look,
right,
I don't have any money. Could you do this to me could you do this for me as a favor? At least the person going into it knows like what it is. Or if you're curious, does this person know if this is a favor or they're gonna charge me? You know, just ask the question.
Right.
Before it gets too deep and they're like, oh, well, I thought you were gonna pay me, and then it's a thing, and then it's weird.
Just better communicate.
Communication is key in any business.
All things in life.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah, so just talk a lot, even if it seems, you know, about like the X's and O's of the business stuff, because then if everything's just on the table, nobody gets hurt.
Right.
Or like, oh, I didn't realize that. You're like, I'm sorry, like I really can't pay you. Like, well, I just don't have the time. But at least and maybe they can't help you, but at least you don't like burn a bridge. They're like, oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. You know, and then it's done right away, rather than, you know, once they've invested their time and then they're upset.
Right.
That wasn't a very uplifting way to end. You want to give something,
my gosh.
give people something uplifting to end on, because you're my ray of sunshine.
Oh, that's very sweet. I've got this thing like stuck in my eye that's bugging me this whole time.
You always have things stuck in your eye.
Oh, goodness. Something uplifting to end with. Well, Jesus loves you. Like that's the most uplifting thing in the world. Like to know that you're loved by God. Like it actually, you know, and he actually does love you. It's not just a saying, like it's actually true. So you never know what I'm gonna say. I believe that it's true.
I believe it too.
You know, you want me to say something that pertains to business? Seek God in your business. I might say that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when we don't seek God in our business, it doesn't go very well.
Listen to that still small voice, as they say.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's hard because people will tell you, you know, no, or don't do that, or go this direction, and that voice whispers to you and says, actually, it's that way. It's that way. And in my experience, whatever direction most people are running, the way to success is to run the other way, because most people just go to like whatever has already happened, or their followers. So if you're gonna try to make your way, usually if everybody's doing it, it's already over, kind of thing. Right. You know, if everybody's investing in real estate right now, like then things are gonna go down. Like if nobody is, then that's the time to like do it, because you know, if you're on the back end of a trend, you've kind of missed the boat.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. It's almost like a good thing. And here's something to end on, other than Jesus loves you and pray about your business and all that, is don't take opposition or some like criticism to your idea or your business as like a bad thing, because if it doesn't like scare people a little bit, they're like, oh, you're doing that?
Yeah.
Like what is that? Like, you know, if it's only just good vibes, like you're gonna, you know, bake cookies and just like, you know, sell them on the corner. They're like, oh, it's great, good for you. And you're like, oh no, like I'm gonna like start my own bakery, and I'm gonna, you know, it's gonna be like this, and it's gonna be the new crumble. Is that a thing everywhere? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah. And people every once in a while somebody kind of flinches and goes, really?
Right.
Like then you kind of know you're on to something, because it's scared, because they put themselves in your shoes and go, oh, you're a little crazy. You're like, I wouldn't do that. Like then, you know, you're kind of you're at least going out of the safety net a little bit. Not a lot.
That's the key, is to try to find yourself outside of the safety net.
Outside of your comfort zone.
You can't grow unless you're outside of your safety net. You always end up back in it because
your safety net grows.
Your safety net grows. Yeah. And so it's not like you're ever going to find yourself in a place where you're constantly living outside of it. I don't know that that's really possible, although maybe it is. But you should always be, once you find yourself back in the safety net, find a way to crawl out of it again.
Yeah, and it's not like if you're afraid of heights, you're gonna go jump out of an airplane and go skydiving.
Well, I mean, you could.
You could just full on. I'm not doing that. I'm never doing that. But maybe you just try to build up to that. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go a little higher. Right. I'm gonna get on a 12-foot ladder this time.
Well, I want to get my ears pierced again, and so I'm gonna watch a bunch of tattoo artists piercing people's ears so I can get over the fear of the needle that I'm gonna have to endure. Although I had my belly button pierced before, but I think I almost passed out when that happened. So I think the ear is probably a little bit better than the belly button, though.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just gonna watch some videos so I can desensitize myself.
And you're gonna go with Rachel.
And hopefully my friend will go with me with our daughters, but I don't know for sure. And that's it.
What do you know? How you don't know? Well, unless she chickens out.
Well, it was an idea, so I have to see if
it all sort of
come together.
It all sort of works out.
Yeah. Anyway.
You're looking at the time, aren't you?
It's time to go.
It's time to go. We have to do other things.
We do.
So what do we say? What's our send off?
Oh, I don't even know. Do we have a send off?
It's nice talking to everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.